This meeting is being held remotely as an alternative means of public access pursuant to the order issued by the Governor of Massachusetts dated March 12th, 2020, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting will be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. Excuse me. So do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
Frank, I think we just wanted to add a discussion about Appleton.
Right.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to accept the agenda with the add-on of Appleton Field.
Richard, second.
So we have Richard. So is Doug on yet?
No, but Brandon's on.
No.
Okay. Penny,
Yes.
is Jen? Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
No.
Yes.
Frank,
Yep. Brendan's
Great.
there.
and Frank, yes. Okay, thank you. So maybe before we go into any of the hearings, if we're going to be continuing a couple of things, we could just talk about Appleton Field before Penny leaves for her other meeting. And maybe Andy, do you want to jump in on this just a little bit?
Sure. So I had a chance to talk to John Belber. I met him out at the field the other day. He actually said he could hop on at the end of this meeting if we do want to hear from him, but we can lay out the discussion now.
Okay.
But if folks don't know him, he works at Holly Hill Farm. I know he's worked with Penny at the community garden over at off of First Parish. He's done a bunch of garden work around town at Jenkins, I think. So we took a look and had some ideas about kind of turning that field into a community-based initiative. He has thoughts about using no-till farming, all organic, getting volunteers and high school students involved potentially down the line. Starting small, gauging interest, and then building out from there, potentially adding in community garden plots, things like that. It's all a very high-level discussion, of which I'm sure he could get into more detail. From my perspective, I was out there the other day and would love to see it in use in some sense. Obviously, it's a beautiful spot. Plus, it had been maintained, I think, pretty well in terms of its ecological value. But the longer it sits, the more likely that some of those woody invasives and things will creep in. So it's just a conversation I wanted to get started. I know there's a lot of other pieces to discuss. I know water will be an issue eventually, although it seemed like there's potential to kind of get it going with some crops that don't need as much water to start, and then look at water down the line too. So that's the summary.
Great. Thanks, Andy. I appreciate you getting John to take a look at that. The reason a question for you, Penny.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of formal agreement over at Teak Sherman with the community garden and the commission on the use of that property?
To be honest with you, we did do something in the beginning, and but just basically that it would stay a community garden, blah blah blah, and that's kind of it, And so far, it stayed like that. Once a year, they were supposed to come in and give us a report, which that hasn't happened. Because you know what? It was Sustainable Scituate too we were working with. John and Sustainable Scituate. And so that's kind of how it was. Because that we, yeah.
Because unlike with Appleton Field,
we don't have a license or anything like Appleton Field. We will have to do a license.
Well,
right?
that's what I'm not sure. So with Appleton Field, because it was an individual and we allowed that person to farm the field,
Yeah.
I don't know if you recall, but originally the commission made a mistake and leased it, and that was incorrect. And then town council straightened it out, and we have a license. But that was for an individual to work that field, and we have some different options for the field that we need to consider. But to my way of thinking, this would be a great use. It would allow lots of folks from the town of Scituate to have the potential to use the property. And in a sustainable and ecological manner, as Andy said. So
Yeah.
I just didn't know if we have to have anything as formal as a license if we're working with individuals. It didn't seem like it, but I don't really know.
No, to my knowledge, no. It was more like a gentleman's agreement, you know. I'd speak to them, they'd speak to me. And it was just kind of, you know, because it was a nonprofit, it was community. We didn't have to know. We didn't do anything, but they did have to pay for their own water. Once, you know, Al Banger at the time, we got a deal on getting the water put in because they happened to be doing work right there on First Parish. But, you know, no, we didn't have any formal license or lease or anything like that. It was just, yeah, just do what you're supposed to do. And they've been good. They've been good. And it is a big success. And so I know John has been waiting for Appleton Field to show up, you know, right from the get-go. He was there, let me know, because that garden, the small one, filled up quick, and it would be lovely to get another one. May I just make one little comment that if we
Surprised you asked.
well, because I don't want to get ahead of it, but I do know that CPC, in starting a garden, we can go to them for funds next year. You know, like for the water, and I don't know about the fencing. Is there actually wire around the big garden and stuff, because you have to keep the deers out. You know, and we did not realize that when the small one. So we had to raise the money for the fencing, and somebody did it for labor free, you know, but in the shed and stuff like that. But the CPC, that is one of their things. And I was wondering what, of course, we probably should look into, instead of using town water, what about a well out there? Because you do have to pay for the piping, and that's a long driveway to pipe in water. So it might be cheaper to put well water in out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just a thought.
Well, I think these are all things that we'll want to be discussing
Right.
with John.
Right.
I just wanted it to be discussed in a meeting, and I don't know if any of the other commission members have any thoughts on this one. I appreciate Andy taking this up with John, and if John comes on later, we can hear his thoughts, and then we can pursue that further.
Yeah.
Richard, or who else is on right now? Anybody else have any thoughts on Appleton Field or any questions at the moment? Well, we have someone as astute as Penny on.
Not at the moment.
Okay. Thanks, Penny. Thanks, Andy.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we want to get back to our agenda. 39 Brunswick Street, do we need to open that or continue it?
No, there's pending a notice of withdrawal, so I think that we just read it in and we're going to accept the withdrawal. Mary Beto says we should have had it today, but we didn't.
We don't have a formal request for withdrawal?
No, just a verbal.
So do you think we're better off continuing it to the next meeting and have a formal request, or you're good to go with it?
I think we're good to go with it. It's been going on for a year, you know, so.
Okay.
Then I'll make a motion, Frank.
Sure.
I make a motion to withdraw 39 Brunswick Street.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second, Andy.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, all in favor of the withdrawal? Richard,
Richard, okay, yes.
Doug?
Yes. Can
Thanks.
you hear me now?
Got you.
Okay, good.
Fancy earphones.
Thank you.
Penny,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Number 8, Newell Street. We have a request for continuance from Paul Seberg, and he'd request that we continue it to
11/16.
Okay. Do we have room on that? On the 16th?
For 11/16, yes.
Okay. You want to make a motion, Penny?
You want to do both together?
Yes.
I make a motion to continue 8 Newell Street Pool and 8 Newell Street Dock to November 16th.
Do I have a second?
Second, Doug?
Okay. So, Richard,
I'm recused.
all right. Doug, oh, you just seconded. Penny,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Okay, thank you. Number 1, Hollett. Do we have people on for that? So,
Yes, this is Darren Grady from Grady Consulting.
hey, Darren,
Hi,
good evening.
good evening.
So where are we at?
So as far as the application, we provided a new plan that shows the existing house being raised. And we applied for a stormwater permit. The stormwater has been reviewed, and I think I have Pete Palmieri's, I met all his requirements. The plan does show a proposed driveway now, and also some grading on the left, which required some compensatory storage for some filled flood area. And yeah, I think the plan looks good. The restoration area has been increased from 210 square feet to 340 square feet, and that's shown on the plan as well. I think we've met all of the requests that have been asked, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to go over them with you.
Okay. We'll start with Richard.
I don't have anything right now.
This has been a while, so
Yeah.
I may build on this a little bit. Doug?
I do remember seeing the site before. I don't have questions. You said we got, Peter is all set with his comments, looks like.
That's correct.
Yeah, so no, yeah, there it is. No, I don't have any questions.
Penny?
I see you're going to take the shed out, which is good, because that's in the 50-foot buffer. And you're going to put grass where the driveway is that's there now. I think it looks pretty darn good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And Jen's still out, right? We don't have Jen Foley. Andy?
I'm okay for right now.
Okay. Brendan?
I have no questions.
Amy?
Yeah, no, looks good. The project changed. Sorry about that. Looks good. I think that you've all followed the morph of the project since they were actually here last fall with the septic system upgrade in the corner, down in the right bottom corner, with an addition. And so now it's, new house with infiltration and some restoration along the area that was somewhat altered in the beginning of the project, removal of the shed. I mean, I think it looks good. I think we're ready to close, pending any questions from abutters and so forth.
Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions for this?
They should raise their hand. Use the
Raise your
raise
hand,
hand
please.
button. Seeing none.
Okay, and so everything on this is outside of the 50. It's a little bit hard to read this. Am I right?
Yes.
We have the restoration inside the 50, but other than that, we are outside of the 50.
And the work that was done was some clearing or something that was done incorrectly, right, when this started? Was that rectified?
Yes. Through this notice of intent.
Okay.
Actually, Frank, we have a little bit of grading going over in the flood storage area. We needed to compensate for lost flood storage. It's an area of lawn that will be replaced with right back to what it is now. It goes to probably 40 feet, but only in one location.
Okay. I think that's it for me. Anybody else?
And I'll make a motion to close.
Wait, do we have a second?
Second, Doug?
Great. Richard,
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
A second. Penny,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 91 Rebecca. So this is opening a new one, right?
Yes.
On October 5th, 2020 at 5:15 p.m. the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Ivo and Robin Kacha to repair 4 concrete piles and install a stone surface protection barrier at location 91 Rebecca Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access a virtual meeting was available in the agenda posted at the town website. Who's presenting this?
Atlantic Coast Engineering, Jed Hannon.
Okay. Jed,
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
I got you.
Great. This is Jed Hannon, registered engineer with Atlantic Coast Engineering. We're here as Frank representing 91 Rebecca Road, Ivo Garcia. Amy was out there with me a while back. I want to say it was pre-COVID, probably 6-7 months ago. And we just looked at it. I showed her the cracked piles and notified her basically what we were intending to do. And then COVID hit, so we're delayed for quite a while. And then we were able to get the notice of intent in just back weeks ago. So the intended scope of work that we're proposing in this notice of intent is that there's 4 existing concrete piles that support the elevated deck. There's probably 16 in total, but 4 of which are cracked and damaged, and you can see some of the rebar. So the proposed scope would be to chip and then remove any deleterious concrete, and then form and pour the same diameter size concrete piles that are there to alleviate any concern. And then the second part of this notice of intent, which I provided a letter on just for some clarification that we're hoping that can get incorporated into the order of conditions if this is voted on favorably, and that is to install 6 inches of 2-inch minus and then 6 inches of white seashells in the backyard there, abutting the existing concrete seawall. And then there's a little sloped wall we wanted to put to kind of protect the base of the piles as well, which you can see on the cross section on sheet C2. This area, this particular location is literally the first house on the right when you leave the lighthouse. So it's in the high velocity zone. They get a lot of scour and such after nor'easters or major events. So what we'd hope could get incorporated into the order of conditions if this gets voted on favorably is that annually, if maintenance could get done to address any scour and things like that. So that was basically the letter I had sent over. And besides that, I guess I'll open it up to any questions you have. It's really pretty straightforward. I was going to do it as an RDA, but then the fact that we want to place material down, I figured that was a notice of intent, and Amy agreed. So I guess I'll open it up to any questions you might have at this point.
Okay. Richard?
I'm here. I'm trying to figure this out. I think I have. And Ed. So I just want to make sure I understand. It's seashells on the outside and then sandy gravel on the inside around the deck. Am I reading that correctly?
Jed?
So if you look at the drawing on C2, it's, that's pretty much it, Richard. It's outside the deck. It's from the face of the deck to the seawall. It's 6 inches of 2-inch minus stone and then 6 inches of white seashells. The idea being the white seashells are cosmetic. The backyard is really kind of scoured looking. I can't think of any other word, just from, the storm events that have taken place over the last several years. So this is kind of it's a bit of a fortification to repair the piles, but then with the seashells, it's cosmetic to,
Right.
make the backyard look nicer.
Seashells will look nice. I'll leave to the engineers more of the questions on the pilings itself. Otherwise, I'm good for now.
Great. Doug?
No, it does look pretty straightforward. It's just the 4 piles you're repairing now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is there evidence of more damage? Would it make sense to do any more at this point in time, or is that it just those 4 that took a beat? And
Just those 4.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
No questions. Looks like it needs to be done.
Penny?
She just needs to unmute.
Oh, my bad. My only concern here is that's a very high velocity area, and the seashells, I'm afraid the first storm, they're going to end up in the road. I'm not so sure if that's a real good idea. I mean, I don't see them staying put, Frank, after the first storm, because that is a high velocity area, and we all have seen the water, comes, I don't know. But if they want to spend the money to keep putting them back, and I guess it's okay. I'm not against it. It's just I don't see them staying put for even one storm.
Well, we discourage people, or we don't allow folks to put a hard surface.
Right. I hear you.
So they need to come up with something that they can utilize. If they put really big stone there, then it's unusable. So that's not going to be something to consider. It's in back of the revetment that the town did.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of this is all an experiment in some ways.
No, well that's fine. That's fine. I just don't think they're gonna stay. But we'll see when we get a storm, right?
There you go.
Yep.
Andy?
I'm okay on this one.
Brendan?
Oh, okay as well.
Amy?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that, you know, that this is approvable and consistent with the regulations. I do note that DEP commented that it may trigger, at least a portion of this work may trigger Chapter 91 license. So I think we'll put that condition in that they need to check with them to make sure or see whether it does or it does not. So I think that would be with respect to the wall. As far as the pilings go, I mean, we want it to be consistent with building code for coastal resources. And I would be slightly concerned about triggering the substantial improvement clause, although with the scope being limited to repair 4 piles, I think we're okay there, but just things to think about. Otherwise, I would say that we're good.
Do we have anybody in the audience for this one? No. Can I just, Amy, why, I'm just trying to figure out why there would be a Chapter 91
Yeah, me too.
for this. They're not building, the wall is there, right, Jed?
I think because of the improvements to the wall. So what Jed's, I mean, it's not on this slide, but their interpretation for this project was that it may trigger 91. So
What's the
just
improvement?
Jed.
So there is no improvement to the wall. You know, the concrete that is. And I can certainly, you know, reach out to them for any clarification they're looking for, but really just putting down a, you know, two layers of proposed material types. You know, and relative to the height of the existing wall, it's pretty minor at, you know, 1 foot thick, with the 6 inches of white seashell and 6 inches of 2-inch minus. But there's no proposed work to the concrete seawall.
Okay.
So it's really just fill up against the edge of the house, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, is that as simple as that? He can just reach out to,
Yeah, so I mean, that's the first step in the 91 license, or one of the first steps besides your engineering plans, is to have an order of conditions as part of your 91 license. But so I think that maybe just contacting Mass DEP Waterways Program at the number that they provide, and probably Dave Hill can walk you through whether or not you need to go any further with them. Maybe it looked like the revetment that you show on the plan, maybe they were interpreting that as part of the work itself. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
anybody else? Get a motion to
I'll make-
close?
A motion to close.
It's Penny. We have a second?
Second, Doug.
Doug. So all in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Thank you. Thanks, Jed.
Thank you very much.
61 Seaside. On October 5th, 2020 at 5:15 p.m. the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Paul and Bonnie Turcott for work related to vegetation management at location 61 Seaside Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access a virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Who's got this? Brad?
Brad Holmes.
Is he on?
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Hey,
Good
Brad.
evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes with ECR on behalf of Paul and Bonnie Turcott for their property at 61 Seaside Road. This application is a follow-up to our restoration submittal that we presented to the commission a couple months ago. They performed some Phragmites cutting work to the south of their home, adjacent to the pond, to try to improve the area. And they were told to stop until they come forward to the commission with a restoration proposal, which we did. So we're following that up with a notice of intent to perform vegetation maintenance activities. In order for a successful Phragmites removal project, we need to first treat the area with herbicide and cut the Phragmites, remove it, and manage that, and then reintroduce native vegetation to replace that area where that invasive pest was dominating the wetland area. So what we've done is we've put that together through the notice of intent application. You can see on the plan, the green shaded area is the area within the BVW which is dominated with Phragmites that we're proposing to treat and remove. There's a small area within the buffer zone that's shaded in yellow as well. This project would be performed by a licensed herbicide applicator. We've reached out to Chris Politan of Land Stewardship Inc. to work with us and perform the targeted treatment of Phragmites. Once that's underway, we'll definitely notify the commission and all meet on site as a pre-works meeting and make sure that you know that there's a qualified individual performing that work. But we've prepared and submitted this notice of intent to improve the area, and I know the commission's familiar with Phragmites detriment and projects to improve the area, so I think I'll leave it at that. Any questions?
Richard?
Yeah, there you go.
No.
There we go. Sorry. Thanks, Doug.
You were unmuted there, Frank. You might have to repeat that.
I think we're just looking for Richard.
Yeah, I'm here. No, this has been going on for a while, and I think they're trying to do exactly what we've asked them to do. I'm fine for the moment.
Great. Doug?
No, this is a bit of a new subject for me, but I know the Phragmites are invasive, and the commission likes to see them limited. It's too bad the scope couldn't be expanded to all butters properties, but I know that they would have to file their own. So there's going to be these pockets of Phragmites eradicated. Are they just going to I'm guessing it's all around that little pond. It's not just in those locations. Are they going to repopulate? You're going to have a big problem with that?
It's going to be an ongoing management. We'll never get fully rid of the Phragmites until we work on the entire area. But
Yeah.
the Turcots are hoping that this will be something that others can see the success of and join in with an overall program to improve the area. They're actually spearheading an overall Egypt Beach Phragmites management task force is a sort of idea and investigating that feasibility of moving forward to that level. But this will be the first step in showing everybody what we can do.
Okay, thanks.
Penny?
I guess my only question is, eventually I feel Phragmites will become a native species and not be called invasive anymore. I mean, it's like such a battle. Good luck to them. I hope, I wish them the best, but it is a battle. Thank you.
Okay, Andy?
Shared Doug's question, but it's good to hear that they're trying to organize a broader effort. I'm good.
Thanks. Brendan?
No questions right now.
Amy?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward and consistent with other Phragmite management projects we've approved and given orders for. So I think that we're probably good to go.
Anybody in the wings on this one?
Questions, raise your hands.
Just have a couple of things. So it looks like, Brad, this goes out into like some sort of roadway.
Correct.
So they're
There's a-
going to the middle of that road because that's what they own too.
That's how we set it up, correct.
Okay. And then, which house is your client?
The one on the beach.
Just to the north of a little bit northeast of that yellow shaded area.
Okay. I'm seeing an excavator parked in the yard next to it. I didn't know if we have a set of orders over there.
Good catch.
I don't know when this picture was taken, but
It says
think
August 13th.
I think it's a 2019 aerial. I know that the Turcots did go through permitting for the house improvement project, but I'd have to say that excavator is technically on the land of others.
I guess so.
What
Okay.
else are you playing, Frank?
Well, maybe we have orders for that project.
Or maybe they drive it to work.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Can I get a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to close.
Actually, can we have a motion to close and issue?
I
going
make a motion
forward?
to close and issue order.
Richard will second.
Richard second. So all in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes,
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad.
Good evening.
good to
so
see you, Brad.
66 Booth Hill. On October 5th, 2020, at 5:15 meeting of the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Adelisa Barbosa for septic work on a single-family dwelling at location 66 Booth Hill Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. So,
We have James on from
okay,
Mars.
here you go.
Good evening, everyone. James Garfield with Morse Engineering, here representing the applicant for the septic system upgrade, 66 Booth Hill Road. So to familiarize yourself with the plan, we've got our property lines outlined here in bold. Booth Hill Road's down at the bottom of the page, and then 3A, Chief Justice Cushing Highway, is located on the left side of the page. The existing single-family dwelling is centered on the lot, slightly to the down Booth Hill Road a little bit. Currently serviced by a failing Title V cesspool and laundry pit. The only resource area on the site is the bordering vegetated wetlands shown here in blue. And we're proposing to reroute the plumbing out the front to tie the laundry in. It'll go to a septic tank pump chamber and then to the leaching field in the left side, front side yard there. And as you can see, the 50-foot buffer shown in red, it runs through the majority of the site. So considering how little area there is on the right side of the lot, we feel the left side is really the only place for the septic. We maintain, looks like 33.7 feet off the wetland at the closest point, and we're also proposing a silt fence down gradient to that to act as an erosion control method. So with that, I'll leave it to you for any questions.
Okay. Richard?
Could have gone with Penny first. It would have been fine. I mean, regular questions would prevail, except I just don't see any other logical place for it to go. And it's certainly better than a cesspool.
Doug?
Yeah, no questions at all. I think that's as good as you're going to get. To put it over on that little tiny space in the right, you'd probably need variances all around for the setbacks from the lot lines and the house, and there'd be probably retaining walls around the whole thing. So it's going to function better the where it is. So no, I think that's fine. No questions.
Penny?
Yeah, James, I had spoken to you about this earlier. Do you have your, have you been to Board of Health and that they're all set with it?
Board of Health, as far as I know, is waiting on conservation approval. I asked somebody in our office who had received emails from them earlier today.
Yeah, I've been in touch with Joan, and they're ready for us to approve it.
Okay, well, my only concern, and I did voice it with the Board of Health with Joan, was that the house behind them down the right of way, they have well water and 5 children in the house. So needless to say, they were a little concerned, about a big leaching field and stuff, and could it get to their water supply. But the Board of Health said as long as it's 100 feet away, they should be okay.
500. I think she says
Yeah,
it's more
no,
than
I
500.
think so too.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a concern of them. I don't blame them. If I had 5 small children and was using well water, I'd be concerned. I sure wouldn't want, it leaching in there. So, no, that's it. If Board of Health is all set, because I did bring that to Joan's attention. Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
Andy?
No questions.
Brendan?
I have no questions. Looks good.
Amy?
No comment. As I said, it's got Board of Health approval, so.
Any abutters or anybody interested parties raise their hand?
Seeing none.
Okay. Penny, in regard to your question,
Yeah.
I think Doug or James, most people would tell you that this leaching field with the sand filters and whatnot are far more beneficial than having a cesspool that probably goes into the groundwater right now. I mean, the old way of making these things work was to go deep and bring these into the groundwater. And so removing all that and having sand filter out anything before it gets to that, I think they would actually benefit if anything even got close to their home. So
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a gain. And the left side of that yard is already a lawn. It's sort of improved. Go by it all the time. I don't really see another alternative.
No, I don't either. But it was just, and I don't blame the neighbors. I mean, I'd bring that concern up too, but they.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw it out. That's
Yep.
all.
Thank you.
All's good. All's good.
Okay. So I guess we take a motion.
I make a
A
motion.
motion.
To close.
Richard wanted to do one. Is that okay, Penny?
Close an issue, folks.
I make a motion to close an issue for 66 Booth Hill Road.
Do we have a second?
Andy.
Andy's got a second. It's a world coming to here.
Penny's going to be really upset now.
Richard,
Yes.
Lady.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Where are we at? 138 Central Ave. On October 5th, 2020 at 5:15 p.m. the Townhouse Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Kerwin for work related to elevating a single-family dwelling located at 138 Central Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. How badly did I destroy that name?
It's Ray Kerwin.
Ray Kerwin. Thank you.
So Paul Seberg is on.
Yep, Paul Seberg from Grady Consulting here.
Hey, Paul.
How you doing?
Thanks. Go ahead.
So this site currently consists of an existing single-family home. There's an existing paved driveway that runs up the center of the lot, as well as an existing deck off the side of the house in the back right-hand corner. The site's located in a barrier beach, coastal dune, and land subject to coastal storm flowage resource areas. We are located in a VE elevation 15 flood zone. What the applicant would like to do is basically elevate the existing home onto a wooden pile foundation above the flood zone. And we also need to add some additional stairs to get up to that elevation as well. We're proposing silt fence erosion control around the site. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Richard?
Yeah, I know this. I know the house very well, and it's a little tight on the north side, but otherwise there's plenty of room to do the work, and it's in a location that this will be a very good thing to do. Although it does have Atlantic Drive behind it, and that then the ocean, still the river more than anything would be where they would flood first, I would think, from experience. So I think it's a good move.
Okay. Doug?
Only question, and it's actually for my own benefit, because there's been some changes to some of the bylaws recently that I've been reading about, and I haven't been caught myself up to speed on which towns have adopted this, but the FEMA zone is a 15.
That's correct.
And so do they require that you add a foot above that?
Exactly. Basically, what I've seen recently is that it's 1 foot for the lowest structural member.
Right, and you've got top of pile at 16.5, so you're
Right,
well
so we're
above
1.5 feet.
I've been reading that there's been some areas that have modified that to 2 foot.
Right.
But I like, again, I can't remember which town. It might be Marshfield, might be one of them, but yeah. So so I'm good. Those are wood driven piles, right?
Correct.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. It's a good idea.
Penny?
Nope, I'm very happy. Go up higher the better.
Okay. Andy?
I'm good on this one.
Okay. Brendan?
I have no questions on this.
Amy?
Looks good. We're happy to see they're on driven wood piles.
Yeah.
And it will need to be consistent with, elevation for coastal resource areas and for FEMA. So.
Okay. Anybody in the audience? Anyone put their hand up to speak to that?
Seeing none, Frank.
Okay. Do we have a structural plan to go with this?
Yes.
Yes.
And who did that? Does anybody know?
It was Rivermore Engineering.
Okay. And that's in our file.
Yes.
Yes, received last minute, but yes, we do have them, stamped structurals.
Okay. All right, then I take a motion
Close an issue.
to close an issue.
I make a motion to close an issue.
Do we have a second?
Second, Doug.
Doug's got the second. So, Richard?
Yes.
Okay. Doug?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes, sir.
Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And we have just one RDA?
Little septic.
So this is number 3 Gardner Road. On Monday, October 5th, during the 5:15 meeting at Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Lillian Peters Trust for a determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw for activities related to a septic replacement at property known as 3 Gardner Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the Town Hall website.
Again, for the record, my name is James Garfield. I'm an engineer at Morse Engineering, here representing the applicant for the septic system upgrade at 3 Gardner Road. So I don't know if we can pull the plan up here.
There we go.
So this is a pretty decent sized lot, so we don't have all the lot lines shown on this image, but you will see the lot line is that bottom line at the bottom of the page, that bold line. The single family dwellings, that shaded area in the center. And so the only resource area out on this site is a bordering vegetated wetland to the rear of the lot. Currently serviced by a failing Title V cesspool, which also is towards the rear of the lot. So basically we're tying into where that plumbing currently exits. We're gonna have a septic tank pump chamber, which will go to a Presby Enviro septic leaching field out the, towards the back side of the driveway. So the entirety of this septic system sits outside of the 50-foot buffer with some minor grading that goes into it. So we kind of think we're doing the best we can with this site. We thought about doing it out the front of the house, but that would require rerouting the plumbing. There's an existing water line that connects in that area, and there's also a bunch of ledge outcrops out the front of the house. So we feel this is the best area for it. Again, we've got a erosion control barrier, down gradient. Yeah, and I think that's it. You guys have any questions?
Okay. Richard? Richard, any thoughts?
No, I don't have any questions right now. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Doug?
No, it's a good size system, but that's a 7-bedroom house.
Yeah.
So what were the perks like on that, James? Like
I think they were kind of middle of the road. They
yeah.
weren't the slowest, they weren't the fastest. The catch here is just having enough soil in the area, which is why we went with a Presby system. Typical chamber systems, you need 4 feet of natural soil, whereas the Presby, you only need 2. So, you know, a case like this with a lot of ledge, that's the type of format you want to go with.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, no, I see the ledge shown on the plan, so I get that. You know, you try to alter the plumbing and go out the front. It would be helpful, but it might not be possible. So I'm good with it.
Any?
Nope, too bad the ledge is out front, that's all. But I'm okay.
All right. Andy?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Brendan?
I'm okay.
All right. Amy?
Yes. I mean, it's unfortunate that you're proposing to clear in the 50 and actually just not just go into the 50, but you're also actually going into the tree line a little bit too, I think. Just some things to consider would be maybe conservation posts along the 50, silt sock for limited work on the down gradient side until it's established. Not accepting the wetland line without a review, although I think that the site's probably really fully built out with a 7-bedroom home. And also possible proposed mitigation for the encroachment into the 50. If there's some kind of planting that maybe they could give us, but I mean, this is an RDA, so you don't have as much control as you do with a set of orders. And clearly it's an improvement from a cesspool, so that's good. It would be good if it wasn't cited in the 50 though, but that's all my comments are.
Do we have anybody in the audience?
Oh, and lastly, that this does not have Board of Health approval. And seeing no hands raised.
So I went by there and familiar with that area, and it is all ledgy. And the alternative would be the blasting or a lot of chipping, probably to get a field into the front yard. So that seems pretty extreme. I think the idea, though, of some posts, there is quite a bit of wooded.
Yeah.
If the tree line's right, there's off the side of the house, there's very little lawn before it goes to wooded area now. So it's not like they've gone way out with a lawn on this house either. Would it be reasonable to place some of those, put a few of those posts along the 50, and then maybe say in the corner where it says conventional SAS, to actually like restrict a little bit of an area? The next person, I'm assuming this is being done because the house is probably being sold or something. So someone could go in and clear a chunk of that property,
After the 50.
which is they're allowed to do that, but we're kind of giving up an area in the 50 to 100. So maybe if the posts were placed well inside the 50 in one corner or something, maybe we could just come up with a location for some posts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, we can put on the determination, add to conservation posts.
Okay.
I mean, just because you're right, you don't want them to clear further.
Right. As you point out, it is an RDA, so we're limited, but I think if the posts are up, at least it's a start. Okay.
Okay. I make a motion for a -3.
With some additions,
Yes.
some comments. Okay.
With comments.
Do I have a second?
Second, Doug.
That was Doug. So Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
and Brendan.
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Thank you. All right, what do we got?
Can we do some minutes quick?
Sure.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of 8:31 as written.
Have a second?
Second, Doug.
There's Doug, excuse me. All in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Are we going to discuss Peggy Beach?
Yes. Amy's pulling some things together.
I see that John is on as well, if we'd like to hear from him on Appleton at some point.
Oh, let's do that. Well, Penny's on.
Yeah.
Is that all right with you, Amy? Jump to John.
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
John? Can you let him in?
He was in.
Oh,
Good evening.
Hey, John.
Hi, good evening, Conservation. This is John Belber, 32 First Parish Road. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on with us tonight.
Yeah, and it's been a long time quasi collaboration in terms of when Penny first approached me to ask what I was doing there behind the red schoolhouse, and then to offer up a proposal for Teak Sherman, and then now here we are in 2020, and there's an absolutely beautiful field space over there at Appleton. So thank you very much for some brief time, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Just so you know, John, earlier in the evening, I wasn't sure whether Penny was still going to be with us, so Andy's filled us in a little bit on your discussion, and maybe you want to carry on.
Okay. Yep. I heard a smidge of that. So yes, and thank you, Penny, for your kind words on what we've done and what you've been able to help us do at Teak Sherman with community plots for local organic growers who are primarily growing for themselves, and also growing to donate produce to our ever burgeoning food pantry, which is now open twice a week, with the demand even before the pandemic has seen great numbers attend and have need for good local healthy produce. So I was able, thank you, Andy, to walk a little bit with him early in the morning last week, to go look at what was a very successful, even though controversial, growing area there that Vinny had. And there are still posts there. There is still fencing, good deer fencing, although much of it has fallen down over the course of time. And there's a lot of rocks taken out of those two fields that are sort of quite prime for growing. And I've had a wonderful isolated, distant spring of walking our new dog around the beautiful trails there over on the Appleton field and in the woods there on the south side of Clap Road. Absolutely beautiful trails. We've done some running there too with my wife, and it's just a very beautiful area. And as for the growing, I think it's really prime, although there is a question of water, quite prime to have some mixed growing going on there. And by mixed growing, I mean there could be more plots by local residents who are practicing organic farming and really regenerative farming, which is adding nutrients to the soil, which I would hope is right up the alley of the Conservation Commission, to bring in seaweed and leaves and maybe manures to really add fertility to the soil. And absolutely no chemicals, I think, need to be on that field or anywhere for that matter. And it's a wonderful area, A, for plotters, B, to grow food quite thoroughly and seriously for the food pantry, perhaps even to sell to restaurants, which is a big question mark, because I'm not sure what you could do on conservation land with that regard. And then to also plant and transplant a lot of native plants. There's already tons of milkweed there, which is native to the area. At Holly Hill Farm, where I work, our nonprofit educational farm, we've increased our native plant seedlings and growing, and it would be very important, I think, for the native bumblebees and other pollinators and things to bring a nice biodiversity to that field, or to continue what is already trending. It's so nice to see nature take hold there. So I have no plans. I'm not going to put anything in the ground just yet, but it's just very exciting, the possibility of thinking about growing organically in a community spot on a larger area than Teak Sherman with more sun.
Great. John, thanks for giving this your consideration and thought as well.
Good.
I'm muted. Maybe what we could do is follow up with some more discussion outside of our meeting, just to get a sense of what could or couldn't be done there. If someone wanted to farm a part of that commercially, which is what was being allowed before, the commission licensed part of that field to be used that way.
Right.
In terms of the community garden, I think it's a lot simpler because it's going to be residents, and try to figure out how to portion that out and then come up with guidelines, which hopefully you could help us with.
Sure.
and it's a good sized area. And I think that was the intent of the commission when they have in this new road to make it more accessible and then try to get it utilized. And if it seems like water at some point could be needed or whatever, we could talk about trying to figure out a well or something.
Yep, CPC perhaps. I heard Penny mention. I mean, it'd be down the line. T. Sherman was without water for a few years beforehand, and water, though essential, there are many crops that you could grow and begin to grow without immediate water if a well or piping is down the line.
Well, my guess is it would be a well, because as Penny pointed out, to try to lay a water line all the way down there would be pretty difficult. But
right,
I think it would fit in nicely with the other plans that the commission has for things. When we did the conservation restrictions for that property, I believe that we incorporated farming and that sort of thing.
Yes, we did.
Part of our CR. So I think it meshes together nicely.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
So Andy, any thoughts on how we might move forward with this?
No, I mean, I think it sounds like we have a broad idea of where we might go. It's, a matter of initial steps. I mean, your suggestion, Frank, to get a few people together, maybe down at the field and talk about, how to get it started might be a good idea.
Okay. Why don't we see if we can follow up with that in the near future? Is there anything that you think we should do to that field short term, John?
Well, one could. So there's the main growing field. There are two parcels that seem to have been set up in the past and still remain. And as you enter the space with that large berm that was built, to the left side is sort of the more sunny established field. I think it's 58 times 3, whatever that is. It's a sort of large square. One could portion off, because it's L-shaped, part of that area and begin some, I guess it's sort of a solarization by putting large slabs of cardboard down that would biodegrade and break up some of the grass that has taken hold there. And, years ago at Teak, Ronnie Simons came and did some tilling, but I'd rather not go that route just because tilling, a lot of farmers are finding, disturbs the microbial life in the soil. And so in short answer, Frank and everybody, one could take a small section, say that little L part sticking off, maybe 30 by 30 feet or something, and do a little matting down of the grass with organic matter, like manures and cardboard and leaves and stuff, just to prepare an area for a possible spring demonstration plot or something, or even, to put garlic down or something in a couple of months. So yes, one could sort of begin to transition that area to more formal growing by eradicating some of the grass that's taken hold.
Okay, thank you. And just so you're aware of that berm, when we built the road, the agreement was that the topsoil, the organics, woody material wouldn't be removed from the site. So we worked it out with the contractor to stockpile that, and then we just covered it with chips. It's pretty rooty and woody, and it may need time to break down, but we wanted to retain that.
That's great. Yeah, that's what Andy mentioned. It's a good hill workout while the dog is prancing in the field to run up and down that, and so it's a nice view of the overlay there. Just a marvelous spot, that field.
Well, we'll work on getting together on that, and
okay.
Looking forward to it. John, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Glad to be a part of it, and thank you again, Andy and Penny. Nice to hear your kind thoughts.
Yeah.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Frank, could I just say one quick thing?
No.
Yes, please. People that do take the plots, I remembered now that they had to, it was like $10 for a plot to pay for the water. And they also signed an agreement because we have all these rules and regulations of how, what you're supposed to do there, what you can and can't do, and so forth and so on. So we don't have to redo that because they do it every year. They have to re-sign them. And so we do have some organizational stuff already in place with the Teak Sherman, which is good. We don't have to go from square one. And yeah, and the people have been very, very good about, not leaving crap and stuff there. You take everything home with you, or you put it in the shed, So I'm excited. I know John has been waiting a long time for this field to come up, so this is going to be exciting.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Penny.
You're welcome.
Great. Back to.
Okay, back to hopefully the last item.
Yeah.
We added 19 Peggotty Beach, which has a set of orders back from 2016, the EP 68-2603, of which it looks like maybe, I don't know, Penny, Frank, Rich were probably on the commission.
Yep.
Sure, at that time, and you
Yep.
know this project better than I do, honestly. So this was one that the owner has since passed away, and his estate or his sisters have inherited the project. It's been for sale on Peggotty Beach. You drive by it when you go to Peggotty Beach parking lot. And back to 2008, there was some fill that was put on the property. And so the orders, which are for a project which is to construct a single family home, but it also incorporates special conditions, about 7 of them, with respect to different things that were worked out during the notice of intent process. And I'm not sure if the commission has the orders or not. Like, you guys, did we send you the orders?
Yes, you did.
Good. Okay, so pages 3 and 4 in the town order section. So it's like special conditions, really starting at number 31 through 37. Gives you the gist of where you are headed for this project. Now, so one of the things that's happened is that in the last couple of years, the owner had a environmental specialist come out and test the soil. And so they concluded in their report that the soil was not impacted above regulatory standards for environmental contamination, so that now they're saying that the condition number 32, which states none of the fill material excavated from the area shall be reused on the site unless a qualified soil specialist determines that it is suitable fill, period. The fill in the area of the single family dwelling must also be suitable. So they provided us with, actually they provided the selectmen and the Board of Health with the LSP opinion, which states that the assessment that they did concludes that the soil is apparently okay. So I guess that's what's up for discussion, is what to do with these special conditions, if anything. So.
Amy, what was the request from the owners?
So they would like to modify number 32. Actually, they'd like to get rid of number 32.
But why?
Because now the soil, they've concluded the soil is not contaminated, so it doesn't really apply, is what they're saying.
How?
I don't get it.
I get you, Penny. You're waving. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, let me put it this way. Those were the orders. They have met the order, so there's no reason to remove it. from the orders of condition. I don't understand it. Just because you've met your order doesn't mean we remove it. I've never done that before. I mean, they don't have a problem if they have met that order. And I think it should stay on there because some of the other orders, you know, if they sell that piece of property, Frank, you remember that they have to connect the wetland to across the street. And that was a major problem because it was all clogged up, Frank.
Right.
Yeah, and stuff like that. I am not at all comfortable taking an order out of this. And I don't understand what their problem is. If you've met it, then that's good. Good for you. Go on to one of the other ones and meet them. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Frank? Frank, it's
Yeah,
Richard.
I think so too.
Richard?
Yeah, I actually have to agree with Penny totally on this. I remember this very well, and she's right about the bigger, even bigger issues that go all the way across the street with this. I would think if there's a letter that says the soil's good, you put that with the file and they don't need to remove 32. I don't know why they're asking.
Okay. Anybody else?
Frank?
What's that?
Do you know why they want it removed? I mean, I don't get it.
Is there anybody else on for this, Amy?
Well, we've got hands raised by an attorney and the real estate broker for the owners. I mean, I think that the reason why they're asking for it to be removed is because it was requested by them from that attorney for the person that's buying the property, is my interpretation.
Okay.
But, and I did review with them that from time to time, we do make minor modifications in orders, but not to change the intent of the order itself. So I don't think that that's what they're trying to do, but I don't know, clearly this set of orders is much more involved than your regular set of orders. So, I mean, there's, you know, a lot to it. And one of the orders, Penny, is definitely reestablishing the connection across the street.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's a small lot. It's a pretty small lot.
Yep.
There's a wetland area restoration, which I haven't found the replication plan. So I think that maybe that's still left undone, but yeah, anyway.
That's the majority of the lot is the wetlands.
Frank
It's
has-
just a small building section.
Right, the house is going to be small. Frank has the plan in front of him, but I mean, there's a few things just to also consider, and that is that the orders were extended in March of 2019 for a year to May of 2020, and they did put in a request to extend the orders, although with the emergency declaration, we've reviewed that orders or permits in effect are automatically alive right now. Although we didn't find the recording information for this one. So I am a little concerned that we don't have the recording from the extension, questioning its validity there, but putting that aside, yeah, this was just to discuss, and we do have Wyatt Sloan and Brad White, it looks like. Frank, if you want us to.
Yeah, let's open this. I'd like to get a little bit more information from maybe who's ever pursuing this. So if it's Brad or Wyatt. Both.
Right.
I'm Jonathan Sloan, attorney Jonathan Sloan. My son is Wyatt, but I'm accessing Zoom through his account. So he's got a better setup for this because he's in it every day. My comment is the buyer's attorney takes issue with number 32, and he's been really holding my feet to the fire on it because it has that word excavated in it, and he says that presumes that there has been an excavation, and there wasn't an excavation. There was a test done, so it doesn't really fit. The condition, you say we've satisfied it, or we say we've satisfied it, but it doesn't gel with the language. What was done doesn't really comport with number 32 as written. A minor modification would be to change the language so it doesn't have the presumption of an excavation. That's what I think I represent the seller, obviously. I think that's what the seller was looking for. I can tell you the buyer won't go forward with this, most likely if nothing is done. And that kind of puts us in a cycle because we can't sell it and the buyers don't come along very much. That's my response to Mrs. Pipes and others.
I'm sorry, your name is Jonathan?
It's Jonathan, yeah, I'm sorry.
So, Jonathan, I thought that material was removed from this site when
Okay.
this was a pretty protracted hearing and process, and I remember Mr. The owner was sick
Hoffler.
during this. Hoffler came to our meeting, and he was quite sick, and it was something we tried to figure out a way to accommodate him, and it goes back even further. I guess initially the wetlands really weren't identified properly. Then some filling took place, and it was determined that there were an isolated wetlands. And then there was the question of whether there was connectivity. We were out there looking at a trench and a drain pipe.
Yeah.
Yes, I can remember all that. But then material was removed from the site because it was placed across the street, and then there was an issue about that.
Okay, if that's what number 32 is referring to, that's, I guess, what I would consider a separate, that's not what we're requesting. The buyer needs to know that he's not going to get stuck with a cleanup. And, our report from the LSP, Mr. Mitchell, indicates that there doesn't need to be an extraction of any soil beyond what's already been done. I don't know, Frank, a lot about what was already done. I think some of the other people who are watching this, Brad White or William Mitchell, may be able to speak to that. I'm really representing the seller as of, Christian Hoffler's death. Things that happened before that I'm less familiar with.
So what I'm trying to remember, the areas that are shaded I have the benefit of the plan that we got. There's an area that's shaded. And I thought that material was supposed to be removed and there was supposed to be a planting.
That's my interpretation, Frank.
I remember it's too.
I think I can't speak to that. Brad, are you able to speak to that? Or we can't hear you, you're muted, but I just don't know if this is more your expertise, or Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, would you like me to speak?
Yes, please, Brad.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Madam Agent. My name is Brad White. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams, and I'm representing the sellers of the property, being Elizabeth Hoffler McKay and Judith Hoffler Kuna. The property has been in the family for 60 years, and it was for sale and is now under agreement. So the order of conditions, which is quite specific, we did exactly what the town had requested. And on this call is also Bill Mitchell. He's our licensed soil professional, and he can speak to technical. But we were asked to test the soil. Let's go way back. Mr. Hoffler, the owner of the property at the time, had permission from Mr. Kalishis, the then conservation agent, to move and remove some soil from the Jack Conway building to this lot. And that was done either pre or post some special permit period that didn't happen. So as a result of that, the Conservation Commission put a number of conditions on the sale of the property, and it was agreed that if we did the order of conditions, the property could be sold. So specifically for the seller, number 32 was what Nathan's referring to, and Jonathan Sloan. And so what we did is we spent a lot of money and had the soil tested a number of times, and Bill can speak to that, so that it's not a negative soil. There is no plan to excavate out. There is a nice house plan to go in there. And there are two lots. Number 15, which is the vegetated, I call it the nature lot. That's a no-touch lot. And the lot to the right, number 19, is the buildable lot. So on that particular lot, there is an order of condition, I think it's number 37, that talks about reconnecting the drain pipe, and the seller has agreed to do that, absolutely. That's why it's in the order of condition. And Mr. Pete McEachran, excavator, has been retained to do that. And then the other orders of conditions, specifically the the fence and the plantings, and we do have a planting plan because Brad Holmes had done that a number of years ago. So, excuse me, so the buyer is going to do the fence and the plantings. And last year we did renew the order of conditions, and then this year we did renew and we did file it. Amy, Greg Morse was the engineer on that, and he took care of that back in May when you and I had chatted about making sure we had it in on time, and then the pandemic happened and all that. So,
Right, can you forward us that recording information, because that's
Absolutely.
missing for our
Absolutely.
records.
I'd be happy to do that. So what we're here for is we have a really good buyer with great vision. And in order for him to purchase the property, that condition number 32, basically, according to Ms. Pipes, I'm not sure if we asked to remove it, but we just would like to get some letter from conservation that it's completed. It's done. It's been exactly what the town asked for. We did, achieved it, put together, I think it's a 171-page report that was sent to everybody, and with a 2-paragraph executive summary from Bill Mitchell. So the goal here is to be able to properly convey the property. All the order conditions will be met. There's no question with that. And but the one that's about the soil, I think what Jonathan said is that that word might be a bugaboo. So whatever we need to do in conveying the lot, knowing that we delivered what was asked and everything is ready to go, shovel ready, so to speak. So that's what I can add. And maybe Bill Mitchell, if you ask him, if you have any questions on the technical side of it, he can chime in on that.
Thank you, Brad.
You bet.
Just before we go to somebody else, again, I'm looking at this plan and it shows proposed fill removal and buffer planting areas. So is somebody telling me that that's been completed?
No, it's been agreed to because you can't really do it till you build the house, right? Because you've got foundation work, pilings going in, all that kind of stuff. So that would be done, you know, when it's appropriate to put plantings in the fence, presumably after, you know, dirt piles get moved around.
I see.
But it's on the plan to be completed and it's agreed to. So the buyer has agreed to it in his purchase and sale that he's going to be completing that.
So, well, let's hear from the LSP or whatever you.
That's Bill Mitchell.
Bill Mitchell, if he's on.
Why?
I'm just curious what he's found there. Is he available?
He should be. Bill, are you on?
Yeah, I am unmuted right now.
Okay, just you can state who you are, please.
Yeah, I'm Bill Mitchell. I'm a licensed site professional. I'm with Clean Soils Environmental.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, Bill, can you just, I know that this is a lot more involved, but you've taken a look at the soil, you've tested the soil, and you're willing to state that there's no issues with these soils. I mean, I'm just trying to remember. It's been so long since we
Let me
had
help
this.
you. Can I help you, Frank?
Sure.
We basically, the end point is a condition of no significant risk. All right, in dealing with the cleanup regulations of the Massachusetts contingency plan, and that's my opinion what we have reached at this point. I like to add this because this may add a little understanding of this coal ash. If this coal, I mean, basically this is some soil with some coal ash in it. And if this soil had remained in downtown, it's non-notifiable to Mass DEP. It's exempt from notification. Why? Because there's so much coal ash throughout the whole Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Probably most of downtown is Boston, and probably even downtown Scituate, and even where I live in Ipswich. This coal ash is everywhere. Unfortunately, some of it ended up on a residential site. So that's not exempt from notification. And I believe the way it started was the fill came in and the Conservation Commission or Board of Health just kind of looked at it and said the soil doesn't look right. So that's when we started doing some testing on that. I don't know if Amy's had an opportunity to look at my figure, and most important of all, my tables, because basically what we did define that did exceed the Massachusetts contingency plan, that's the cleanup regulations. Lead exceeded and benzoate exceeded the reportable concentrations for soil. So that's why this was notified to Mass DEP. We went in and did up to 9 samples out there, down to about 1 foot in depth, mostly focusing on the surface soils because that's where children will play in the future, even now, trespassers, if you will. And the numbers, the average came back less than the residential cleanup standards. So that basically means we have reached a condition of no significant risk as far as that soil goes. So it was an average. Now one would say, why average? Well, if it was to be removed from the property, it would probably be excavated as 1 unit and all mixed up. So that's why DEP allows us to do some averaging on these. So there was 2 exceedances. Lead, the cleanups of reportable concentration is 200. And I think we had an exceedance of about 280, but then when we averaged the full data set, we were averaging it out at about 155, if I'm not mistaken, and that's below that 200. So that means I have a condition of no significant risk for that soil. Somewhat similar to the benzoate pyrene. So basically we have a condition of no significant risk. So the contamination that is there is below the residential standards. If Amy looked at the permanent solution, she'll notice that there are some conditions on that. One condition is best management practices for urban gardening in the future. So in other words, I don't want people planting vegetables in that soil. They can do urban gardening and raise the beds. They can put that soil underneath the building if they want to and bring in, you know, cleaner soil to do some gardening in. But that would be best management practices for gardening. And I call it urban because there's some coal ash there. Let me see what else. So I think that's really it in a nutshell. And I haven't read the conditions, but the conditions definitely don't say if you reach a condition of no significant risk according to 310 CMR 40, then you're good. That's not in that language. It's you know, I looked at it and one could look at it and say, oh, a geotechnical engineer's got to come in to make sure foundation is going to be supported here. That's how I interpreted that condition, a soil expert. So basically, I don't think the condition really describes the condition on site as well as it should. So I do support these guys that something should be put in writing from the Conservation Commission. I used to be chairman of the Ipswich Conservation Commission. To me, this is a very minor amendment, which is very easily doable.
Okay. Thank you.
You are the commissioner in Scituate, so that's your call.
Thank you very much. Amy, I'm wondering if rather than an omission to this number 32, if they were to craft something a little bit different that worked with the buyer. In other words, I think what we're trying to do is make sure that no unsuitable soil is used here. And we knew that there were issues with the soil on site, Brad, so that's why that order is in these conditions. So if the buyer has an issue with this one item, what if your attorney, the seller's attorney, was able to work out some amendment to this sentence that made them comfortable, and the commission could certainly take a look at it. I get it that it's not perfect, but rather than just, as Penny points out, rather than just eliminate it, why don't we see if we can come up with something that's amenable so that you can move forward? I mean, I'd like to see this squared away, but there was a whole series of things that went on here that brought the commission to this point. It wasn't an easy hearing, and there was a whole bunch of outstanding issues that happened here. So I'm not inclined to just say, oh, we don't have to worry about it anymore, but I'd like to see it move forward. So I don't see why something can't be put together so that.
Is that, can I speak?
Sure. Yep.
So I would be the one to work with the buyer's attorney to come up with that amendment, and I'm happy to do it. I just want to make sure I don't waste all our time. We're talking about something that, is it an acknowledgement from Concom that an acknowledgement that the soil that has been excavated is okay, and and what remains if the LSP is accurate, then nothing else will be required of the owner? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm trying to come up with it in my head, but
Nathan, I can help you with that. Here's what I would summate. Bill Mitchell, the LSP, did a very nice one-paragraph conclusion about what we're talking about right now. If, Mr. Chairman, what you're recommending is that we put together a sentence that can be added or amended to the order of conditions stating that the order number 32 was satisfactorily completed. Please see Exhibit A, which is Bill's letter that Amy has right now and you folks have, because it was a summary I asked him to do on the 170-page report. I think, Mr. Chairman, that might satisfy what you're looking for, because there's got to be some type of a tie-out as to what was asked, what was done, and what was the result. So we can simply do that with what exists today. And I think, as Bill mentioned, that condition number 32 just needs to be better defined. I think that's what we're talking about.
That's what I'm hearing and seeing. I don't want to just say, well, it doesn't matter, but if this can be executed in a way, what do you think? I'm looking at Amy.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good.
All right, let's
proposed amendment.
Jonathan, I think you can hear that we want to work with this as long as we get our intent of this in order.
Okay.
We'll see what we can figure out.
Right, so it's not an amendment, because an amendment is different than this, but we can, I think, whether you call it a minor modification or just a clarification, because like what Penny said, you've already met the intent of condition 32, it appears, by your evaluation and assessment of the soil, and by virtue of the conclusion with Mr. Mitchell's LSP opinion indicating no significant risk. So I think that's what's important here. And as long as the buyer is fully aware that he's buying urban soil, you know.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
I need something I can record at the registry, though. You know, that's what he's looking for, something that takes this issue off. This is a cloud on the title, and I don't think you could insure the title with this out there. Something that I can record that says this isn't going to be an issue because it's already been addressed, or I mean, I'd come up with all sorts of, if you want, I'll send you 5 different suggested clarifications, minor modifications, and, you know, pick one as, you know, something that myself and the buyer's attorney both agree on. We can come up with different ways of saying the same thing, because as long as I can record it as a response to order number 32 or condition.
So Nathan, and this will be the last thing I can say, is that the easiest way to do that, to answer what Amy's asking for and what the chairman's asking for, is maybe a simple sentence that says it's been discussed and agreed that Scituate Conservation is adopting the final analysis, and it's one paragraph, so it's not complicated for everybody.
That would do the trick.
Yeah, that's all you need.
I don't know if it would do the trick for Frank and Amy, but if you've reviewed it and accepted it, that might be it.
Okay. You know what? We got some other things to do here tonight, and I'm not an attorney. And so, Jonathan, why don't you and Brad see if you can craft something? We can get it to us, and let's see where we can move forward.
Okay.
And
All right.
Okay,
pass
thank you
it
very much.
through Delisi too, so everybody's on the same page.
Delisi is the buyer's attorney?
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks
Sounds
for
good.
giving us your time.
Thanks.
I guess I kind of jumped over everybody with that one. Are we okay with that?
Absolutely okay. And I think that's where Penny started.
Don't tell her that. All right. What else do we have?
I think we're done.
Yeah, I think we're done, Frank. We can talk about some other stuff if you want, but productive meeting.
I didn't put anything on to add to the agenda, but I can tell you that the Boy Scouts have almost all the kiosks up. And I had a discussion with a fellow that's going to do some of our signs and the infill, and we're not quite ready to have the maps put on the kiosks, but he's going to print some rules that include hunting dates that we can post on all those kiosks, because he's involved with Mass Fish and Wildlife, and he pointed out that hunting season started. So we're going to put some signs up on all the kiosks that have our basic rules, as well as the dates for hunting, so people are aware of who's out in the woods.
Good.
Okay. Anything else?
I think so.
I think we're good. A couple of you must have some homework to work on with the kids.
I make a motion.
All
to
right.
close.
I shudder to think if I had to help somebody with homework. The
I
poor
know.
kid. I'm glad I'm not responsible for homeschooling anyone.
I can help them with the
I would not want to see the outcome of that.
Same here.
It's not going to help.
Doug, I'd drive by your house on my way back from picking them up at 11:25 if you want like a couple hours.
It's your kids. I'm just saying. You're going to save a lot of money on college if you can.
That's funny.
All right. I make a motion to close the meeting.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Doug's got that. Thank you very much.
Have a good night,
All right.
everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Right.